All right. So it's 2 p.m. already. Let me just do a final. All right, check if everything is okay. So, very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to another Amazon Live webinar. Right, let me just confirm whether or not it's Vicky back already.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great. Sorry, because I can't see it here. All right. Thank you for confirming, Vicky. So once again, welcome everyone. So thanks for joining. So this is gonna be, I think the last webinar for this year already, and then I think the next one will be in the year 2024. Right. So I hope everyone had a good 2023, and going forward, it's gonna be better for everyone. All right, so today we're going to touch about inventory sales and cleanup tips. So just now, as you heard, I called Vicky. So very honored and happy again to have Vicky from Return Helper to come join us in this Amazon Live webinar again to share with you some of these inventory related kind of services that you as a seller yourself can actually leverage as well to help to expand your business, or even things like how can you retrieve back items that were returned to you if you are using FBA to fulfill your items for selling on Amazon. All right, so again, welcome, Vicky. I'm going to do a short introduction again. And then for Return Helper, right, they actually founded in 2019. So it's an end-to-end and return management solution that optimize online retailers' return process and also aftermarket activities. So you can see why the session is very related to most of you today. All right, and then they also have software solution that can streamline, support and simplify the reverse logistic of cross-border e-commerce and the after-sales experience of the consumer. So it give you a kind of help to provide a very seamless return experience for both seller and the buyer. All right, and then today, Vicky will be touching upon the topics regarding, Amazon inventory removal, all right, and what are the challenges for FBA and FBM seller, which is the sell ship sellers, all right, and also try to address and help you, see some of the potential pinpoints encountered using both different methods and a lot more other insights. So do stay tuned for the session later by Vicky, the general manager from Return Helper. So I myself, if I have not intro yet, my name is Chin Liang. So I belong to this team in Amazon called the Seller Education team. So in this team, we provide free education and also training through a variety of programs to help sellers like ourselves across their learning journey. You could be new sellers or seller who have not yet started, or even in your year 1 or year 2. Right. So the very common one, which is Seller University. Most of the seller would have known this because if you have the selling account, you can actually go to the navigation under the Learn tab. You can see Seller University. So there's a lot of the documents, short videos, PDF that you can read and learn yourself on the go. Then you also keep track of your progress. Right. So for those who kind of learn or rather prefer something that's more interactive, whereby we cater for live webinar, you can ask questions in real time, or you can also submit your question during the registration, and we will definitely address those questions before we end the webinar. So that's the difference. All right, so as I mentioned earlier on, this webinar is live. However, there's going to be recording, which I will, upload it at the end of the day. And then if you have any questions on typically your right-hand side of the control, right, you'll be able to see this question box there. So just put it there, and then we will be able to see it and then address it accordingly. All right, last but not least, any information we're going to share today is accurate as of today. So if let's say, if you watch the recording a couple months down the road, do always make sure you refer to the latest video or get the most updated information in Seller University or Seller Central Help, especially things like policy or fees, changes, etc. All right, it's best to look for the latest video or get it from the Seller Central Help or Seller University.
Thanks for the very thorough introduction. I feel like I learned a lot from how to manage inventory, access, and all the tips and tricks. So I hope you can see my screen fine. Yeah?
Yep, good
okay.
on my end.
Okay, thank you. So welcome everybody. Thank you for tuning in this afternoon. Many of you might already be like in the year-end break, so thank you for taking time to join us today. So Like what Jilla have said, my name is Vicky. I'm from Return Helper, and today I will be walking you through how to manage some of your FBM returns. How can we support you in managing your FBA with inventory while you focus on boosting your Amazon performance? So, let's see. Quick agenda. We will be talking about why is removing inventory from Amazon sometimes important. We will also go through the pain and challenges of yourself as an FBA or FBA seller that you might go through. Later on, I will also go through an overview of the true cause of an e-commerce return. And lastly, we'll talk about why is Return Helper here and how can we help you solve some of your problems. Okay, without further ado, now, earlier we talked about, I think Jillian has also covered quite a number of good fair point on why do we need to remove your inventory from FBA. So number one, I personally think that slow moving stock is a killer. Um, as much as we want to imagine all like rainbow and sunshine, unfortunately there will be inventory that will be slow moving in all the items that we carry. So having slow moving stock in FBA might affect your IPI, your inventory performance index. And so we suggest that, every now and then you evaluate to see what are some products that should stay and what are some products that should go. And a next one will be when your product is unfortunately against Amazon's policy. Um, Not planned for, but sometimes some products are just no longer fulfilling the requirement that Amazon has. Then the third one would be products being defective. As great as our product can be, there will still be products that are defective. Amazon hold a very strong standard in maintaining and ensuring that buyers receive products that are not defective. So I think this is quite straightforward. And lastly, the long-term FBA storage fees. I think earlier Julian has also touched on the age inventory. And unfortunately, after 180 days, there will be an increase in storage charge, and we don't want that to eat into your margin. So we're here to just help to be more effective in running the business, ensuring that your margins are taken care of, ensuring that your profits are taken care of. So next, I will be talking about maybe first the FBA seller's pain point. So earlier I talked about like some products are not compliant. It might not always be the product. It could be that the product label, the way items were sent and prepped into FBA might not be compliant. And earlier I also touched on IPI, where you will have limited amount of inventory that you can store in Amazon if your IPI score is low. And lastly, excess inventory that we don't want to stay long term in storage if it's not selling anymore. I'll move on to FBM seller. So for FBM seller, life is already harder because you don't have FBA to help you take care of the last mile delivery, right? Like, so on top of that, you need to have, of course, a local return address. You need to deal with expensive shipping, cross-border shipping, customs, the list goes on. And also the risk of fraud returns, right? Fraudulent returns. While we want to believe that most buyers are good, there are unfortunately cases where people return items that is not what you've sent out. And that's unfortunate. And we recognize that these are all the pain points that you sellers have faced. And today or shortly after this, I will be talking about what are some potential solutions that we have that can help you. So now, here we'll go through the true painful cost of e-commerce returns. There are a lot of webinars and talks out there to talk about how glorified e-commerce is, how it boomed during COVID, and how people are making a lot of money. But for all of you who are in, you know that there's also another side of the story which are not often talked about. That's a return. So in the returns department, we have to deal with labor, people, customer service, shipping, warehousing. We have to think about reselling. When we receive a return item, what do we do with it? When I want to resell it, do I repair it? Do I refurbish it? Will the cost exceed what I can resell it for? What do I do next, right? There's also cost on like damaged good. You'll be surprised that, or not, that disposal might cost money too. To throw your return goods away costs money, and to let it sit in a warehouse costs money. So all this are borne by sellers, unfortunately. we know that you're in a hard time. You're having a hard time. So, and lastly, in terms of return costs, that's of course transportation. Whether you're a domestic seller or you're an international seller, say you are based in Singapore and you ship to the US, you have to deal with all the costs that is in between from Singapore to US and to the buyer, come back and all of that, right? Relabeling, packaging, they're all cost. So yes, I know that I painted a very great picture. We're going to go into solution very quickly. So now I will talk a little more about Return Helper, who we are, why are we here. So the founder of Return Helper has been in the business for a long time, like more than 10 years. And at this time, we observed the growth of e-commerce, but at the same time, we also noticed that there is a lack in the ecosystem where most people are focused on forward logistics. Oh, how do I get my product to the US? But people often don't really think about what happened after when that's returned. Like, what do you do with it? When the buyer wants a return, do you dispose it? Do you ask the buyer to keep it? Do you like give them a big discount? Do you resell it if the product is brand new, right? If the buyer just changed their mind or if there's an address issue. So we realized that there are a lot that we can leverage on returns, and despite it being a department that don't generate money, we have a lot that we can do to minimize losses here. And that plays a very big part into our margin. And it's all dollar and cent at the end of the day, right? So here in Return Helper, we work with Amazon. We are part of their SPN network. We support in e-commerce fulfillment. We provide a portal for you to instantly generate labels for your buyer to return item. If you're FBM, we do return collection. We help you with FBA removal. We do inspection. We have people down in the US and other countries that you might be selling to do an on-ground check for you where you're not physically there. And yeah, so this is an overview. We'll talk about our total solution. So there's platform integration where we do API synchronization to support automation when it comes to order processing. Earlier, I talked about instant label generation. You can use our portal, generate an instant label for your buyers to return the item at a discounted rate, because we work with different logistic partners to come up with the best rates for returns instead of buyer returning individually at the post office. It's a lot easier, it's a lot cheaper, and everything is synchronized. Everything is captured. We run international logistics. We have overseas warehouse. I will talk about which are the countries that we have presence in later. We focus mainly on ensuring that the return experience is also taken care of while you work on growing your business on the front end. And lastly, we do Amazon or even eBay return services. We do Shopify and all of that. So yeah. So here are the countries that we have presence in. For countries like the US and the UK, we have 2 warehouses to support to make sure that we cover everywhere. We work with about, I think, 700 clients for now. We work with more than 30 international carriers internationally to figure out the best rates. And yeah, so we have returns, we have fulfillments in different countries to suit your business needs. So for Amazon global sellers, your challenges are a lot more complicated than a local seller who sells within Singapore. So when you use FBA, you might need someone to help you prep and store. We are here to help you. Because we are part of SPN, we are always updated with the latest regulation and requirement that FBA might meet. So we ensure that your products are compliant when it goes to FBA. But in the case where it's not, if you sent it yourself and it requires a removal, we can do a relabel, we can replenish it for you, we can resend it back. For FBM seller, we support order fulfillment generally from Asia to the other side of the world. But of course, there are different countries. Just let us know what are the countries that you need to cover, and my team and I will be able to assist you. And of course, international returns, our core strength. We can provide you with our return address. Your buyer will return to us as if thinking that they returned it to you, and you will have access to information of what you've received. I'll talk more about that in a bit. So we also offer value-added services. We know that for every return, there are different ways of managing it. For different type of products that you have, if you're in fashion, you might need to check to see if there's stain on your clothes. If you are in electronics, you might need to know if the serial number of the phone is the same of what you've sent out, and the list goes on. So we are here readily available to offer customization if your business has a special need in terms of managing returns. And lastly, similar to Amazon, we also offer liquidation. So very simply, for inventory that are in excess and you feel like you're paying more storage than it would generate for you, we can buy off your product from you one off at an agreed price, of course, and help you liquidate it. So next, I'm going to move on to talk about FBM returns workflow and FBA's removal workflow. So if you see the one on top in blue, you'll see that for FBM's return, what we will prepare is a portal earlier, like I said, right? A portal for you to generate labels instantly and handle the reverse logistics. And after that, our warehouse will receive your item. We will take photo and inspect the product for you, depending on our agreement on how you want your product to be checked. But generally, within 24 hours, you will see a photo of the product, the parcel, all uploaded in our system for you to review and see what you want to do with it. And lastly, generally, we will split the product into, like, say, brand new products, reshelf it to resend it to a new buyer. Products that are no longer in a good condition, recall it back to Asia, let's say Singapore. So we accumulate your products to a certain size, let's say 10, 20 kilos. We'll bring it back in bulk in one big carton back to Singapore for repair. So you save a lot on shipping costs instead of having them individually returned from the buyer, from the post office, from US to Singapore. So that is for FBM. And then for FBA, it's a lot more straightforward because FBA take care of a lot of the logistics and returns, right? Front end is done. So what we'll do is we will be your warehouse locally to receive your return item in bulk from FBA. And then if it's returned, then we will ask you what would you like to do, if you want to return it back to Singapore, or do you want to do another check before you dispose? Or if it's brand new, we can always do a relabel and repack to make sure that it fulfills Amazon's requirement. We send it back to Amazon for you to continue selling. Yeah. So that's the one in orange. And I'll move on to next. This is probably a repeat from what I've said earlier. So for Amazon's international return, you use our address, you have access. So once you start using our service, the special part about this is you have access to all our 13 warehouses globally. So we charge like similar workflows the same. You can start using international warehouse immediately without having to worry about setting up and learning new things. And I talk about uploading photos within 24 hours. So you will be in time, you have information in time before you decide if you're comfortable issuing a refund, or you might need to take up a dispute with the platform or the buyer before making a decision. And lastly, you have all the flexibility to choose how you want to handle your product. I've stated a few examples earlier. So besides resending to a new buyer, we resend it back to Singapore for you, we dispose for you. We can also do recycle and liquidate. Yeah. So in terms of liquidation, it is a very simple procedure as well. Let us know which other inventory that you're looking to liquidating. We will review the condition of the product, quantity, and we'll provide you with an offer. And once you agree, we will send the payment over to you, and we will take care of the product from then on. So this is, in a nutshell, our one-stop service and solution from Return Helper. So you can see that from number one, we will be taking care of, let's say, again, from Singapore to the US. We will take care of the export custom clearance from Singapore. We will take care of the cross-border shipping to the US. We will also take care of the import custom clearance before warehousing it, pick and pack. We take care of the last mile shipping and delivery. And then later on, in an unfortunate event where the buyer wants a return, we act as your local person to receive your item. So you have like a local footprint. And if you're not talking about Amazon, if you're selling on your own website and you want local presence, this will work for you as well. And we provide custom handling, we customize how you want to manage your returns. And lastly, again, you can decide how you want to take care of what's the next step to take care of your return items. So here are some of the clients that we've worked with in Singapore. I believe you're not a stranger to Charles and Keith, Love Bonito. Well, I'll be happy to share that we've also started working with Pedro. So for brands like fashion, returns are really high. In electronics as well, you'll see a lot of phone cases, is where generally there are more returns. So we help them take care of their after sales. I'll go into a few examples of top clients that we work with. So with Love Bonito, we've worked with them for a couple of years. If you know, or if you've ever heard of them, they are one of the top leading fashion online company, and we provide a portal for them for their buyers to create label to return. We help them consolidate their products, the return item, and bring it back to Singapore at that's the arrangement that they prefer. Can help them recycle, redistribute, and all of that. So with Return Helper, we manage more than 1,000 returns. Sorry, with Love Bonito, we manage more than 1,000 returns a month from the US. Then with Cubo AI, if you're a new parent, you might have heard of this world first AI-based camera. AV camera. So it's an electronic product. They have a lot of technical things to check upon receiving to make sure that it's not buyer damage, the product is damaged, and before they want to issue a replacement or a refund. So we help them check specifically to their need before and help them categorize their product before returning it back to their headquarters. Kicks Crew for sneakerhead, you might have heard of them. And if you're also an e-commerce seller, you know that shipping shoes, it's really a waste of space. The volume metric is very big. There are a lot of empty spaces. And especially for return, you don't want to really spend so much on shipping empty air. So what we do when we receive a lot of returns is we split the shoes. As you can see in the photo, we split the shoes into one big carton. We flatten the boxes into another. So we help you maximize how much you can ship within one big large carton. And of course, these are value-added services. Then when it reaches a certain weight, we bring it back in bulk for them to where their country is to sort out the next step. Yeah. So for them as well, so this is a sample. You will see that we take a photo and show them the shipping label of what they buy return. We show them an overview of the shoe box, top view, bottom view of the shoes. We also take a photo of the text in shoes for them to help identifying some specification with the shoes. Then for Furbo, it is another pet care product. The special thing about this is we've worked out ways to segregate the condition of the item for them. So when they receive the item back in their country, it is already sorted. And for products that are brand new, we will keep it in the US to resell. Products that are really broken, you can be sent back to their manufacturer for repair. The products that are like half a condition or maybe 80% good with minor scratches, they can immediately resell as a used item. So for sellers who have a lean like manpower, this is what you can consider. We help you segregate your products first, so you deal with it before it comes home to you. Yeah. So with that, this is my perhaps the last summary of what Return Helper do. I hope that today you've gained some knowledge and insight about how to manage returns, how do we do cleanup, and like special tricks from Chumang about like how to run promotion and when is it a good time to look into storage fees, etc. So just a recap, we have automated generation of return label at a discounted rate as compared to buyers who go to the post office and return an item to you. We consolidate your products in bulk so that you save on shipping before it gets returned to you, especially when the product is already not in a brand new condition. We have warehouses in like 13 countries. So when you start using us, expansion of your business will be very easy. You can at one click have a new warehouse readily available to serve you. And then yeah. So lastly, if you are using FDA, which is a great solution, it's so easy for you to manage with a very small team. So, but the thing is, if you ever need a local return solution, a local return address, removal order, relabeling, we're here to support you. So that would be probably all me. Thank you very much, Junliang, for the opportunity to share this with everyone who's here today. And yeah, that's all from me. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Vicky. Thank you so much. So before I took over the control, just to let everybody know, there's this QR code. You can scan it, and then you can leave your details if I'm not wrong, and then return helper and the team will be able to assist you. All right. Then again, I also saw some questions already in the question box, so we will address that for sure. All right. So I'm gonna take over the control, and then we can go into some of the question that we received before during the registration. All right, so I will still share the QR code, so don't worry if you did not get to scan it. All right, so I just share back my screen. Let me know if everybody can see. All right, so we move on to the most exciting part, which is the Q&A. So, all right, so there are actually three questions initially, but just now while I was waiting, I went back to see again. So I guess there are some people who actually sign up probably in the noon, so there's two more questions. So we'll address this perhaps one by one, all right? Okay, the first question, will the GST increase affect the fees we need to pay for storage? If I'm not wrong, in short, right, if you are a resident of Singapore and selling on the Amazon fee, etc., and also the Amazon app fee, right, it's all subjected to the Singapore GST unless you are a GST registered company or something like that, huh? Then you need to provide Amazon with that. Then there won't be the GST fee. But then again, there's actually if you go to Seller Central Help search for Singapore GST, there are some details there. All right, so I'm not a tax person, so but in summary, there will be the GST will have a impact, because for those who are not aware, I see maybe some of you may be from the other country. I think Singapore next year will increase the GST to 9%. So it's a valid question. Yep. Anything Vicky and Tim would like to add on?
Thank you, Jinliang. So I suppose Jinliang will answer on the Amazon's part of the fees. And for return helper, thankfully, so far, there's no increase in our fees. So it doesn't affect you absorb the changes. Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's great. All right. The next question is who else can we reach out to if we need more support? Okay, this one is a little bit wide. All right. So obviously, if you need help from return helper, you can reach out to them either via the QR code. All right. And then if you are referring to maybe some other support you need, maybe I can break it down a little bit. Like if it's general issues you have with your listing or something along the line, you can reach out to the selling support services, the SPS team. Just go to the help in your account. You'll be able to select what kind of issue you're facing, and then they'll guide you through the forms to fill up to get help. All right, so if you are having account issues, under the account, you'll be able to reach out to the account health team to either get them to call you back or something like that. So in short, depend on what kind of support are you referring to, you'll be able to get help. All right, so if you are here, let me know more context if we didn't have to address your questions, right? So maybe on return helper side, any other form of support, let's say, I know there might be a platform they can access in your once they use the service. So will they be able to get like support, like in terms of like what is the support, like 24/7 or something like that?
Yeah. So before sign up, what you can do is you scan the QR code and you there will be a very simple form for you to fill up, so we will know some of the questions that you have, and my team and I will get back to you. Post engaging our service, there will be a customer service team that manage your day-to-day if you have any question. So you have direct contact with our CS team, and rest be assured, there's always a channel to get support from return helper. Yeah.
Awesome. That's good. Thank you. Next one. I know Amazon allow return from customer easily. How can I prevent it? Interesting question. Okay, I don't know whether is it considered easy or not. I think a bit subjective. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure there will be some form of communication first. I personally bought something from Amazon before, and definitely there will be cases where you think you need to return due to whatever reason. So it's not that easy, at least from my experience. There will be some form of communications. I need to reach out through the help to kind of state what issue I have with the item that I want to return, and then I believe actually the seller will receive the message from you. Right, it's communicated through a messaging platform, so they wouldn't really get your details by email. They'll know you're just one of the buyer that you buy their item. All right, so it's communicated through the Amazon chat functions inside the platform, so they'll be able to see what you tell them, and then they will be able to address. So they might ask you to upload photos if you want to say that the item is faulty or what. You might need to take photos and then you upload it, and then they can see, and then they'll be able to decide whether or not they want you to return it back, etc., or want you to give you a replacement or what. So yeah, so that's my understanding. It's not that easy, depending on how you define easy. But good question. So in terms of the prevention, I would say as a seller, probably maybe on a listing aspect, try to put or rather list your items as accurate as possible. Even things like colors, try to show image and show accurate, I would say, statistic that is a true representation of product, right? If not, when people receive the actual product, if they see that the product is not what they wanted or doesn't function as per listed, they can also ask for return and that kind of stuff. And also it depends on what item. I think what Vicky also mentioned earlier on, like things like apparels, that kind of stuff, usually would tend to have higher return due to the nature of the products. So would Vicky have more advice for our seller?
Right. So I think as a marketplace, Amazon is also playing not an easy role, right? To be trying to be neutral and trying to keep the marketplace a safe space for people to buy and to sell. The thing is, if it goes out of control and buyer finds it too difficult to return, they might just shy away from the platform altogether. And sellers on Amazon might just not have so much traffic and people to willingly convert as much as they are today. So to strike a balance is hard. And of course, from a seller's perspective, I understand, right? But like, oh, why is the marketplace deciding when I decide when I receive a return, right? So um we hear that everybody has their own challenge, but here to answer your question about how to prevent, Jill made a very good point about like photos, right? So I think it's a lot about taking aside buyers who perhaps have like fraudulent intent. So a genuine buyer would want to purchase something that they have that expectation of receiving. So generally when you look for something to purchase and you look for the photos, you look at the photos, look at the descriptions. So we've always advised sellers to take more accurate photos of the item so the buyer know exactly what they will be getting before placing an order. And for description. And I think FAQ is actually a good point as well. So after selling the product for a while, you probably have frequently asked questions, and this can be added into your description. And I think they would be very helpful to manage expectations too. Thank you.
Thank you. Perfect. Yeah, that's a very great tips and suggestion as well. to include a FAQ that will help them, elevate some of the potential questions or concern that they have before they actually purchase the products from you. All right, moving on to the next one, right? This is wow. What are three must-do things for new sellers to do to manage inventory? Three. Well, I probably need to think on the spot, but I think maybe the first of all, as a seller, if it's like a new launch of product, right? I would say that if you want to prevent having those overage, like age inventory fee or that kind of extra fees that kind of eat into your profit margin, etc. Maybe don't send in too much of what you think can be sold. So you might reduce one of your problems, right? Then again, you wouldn't know actually how much to send in, right? So I think maybe for a start, usually when you want to send in something, if it's something that you actually bought from the supplier or manufacturer supplier, that's going to be like MOQ, like minimum order quantity. So if you can really get the minimum that makes sense in terms of your pricing strategy, like it doesn't make sense if you were going to send like 10 small item in, because the shipping itself is going to cost you something as well, right? Instead of shipping bits and bits, yeah. So I think, yeah, if you can, do not send too much, so you won't have the issue of having to do too much of inventory management. All right, and then secondly, also you can perhaps one of the way, or rather some of the tips that I shared earlier, you can run promotion discount if you really have to clear, or manage your over excess inventory, that kind of stuff. You can run discount promotion. Try to do those until if there's really no choice, or you have inventory that is really stuck. Yep, then you might need to do the liquidation, etc., or disposal, etc., to see whether if it still makes sense for you to still get back some money from those inventory. What else is considered must do? I'll probably leave with these two, and then maybe I'll get Vicky to also help to share some suggestions or tips on her end.
Sure, I'm quite stuck on the number three, but I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I'll probably just be sharing what I think would help. I think if you're into global selling, definitely do some research, understand the market that you're selling into. So let's say today you're selling just within Singapore. Know that what works in Singapore might not always work in the US, especially if you're selling things that are regional specifics. For electronic products, there are some phones that are blocked in the US. For apparels, sizes are very different in Asia and in the US. So there are some things that you need to take note of. Um, I think doing more research doesn't hurt. You can even go to Amazon and start looking at your competitors. How are they selling? What is the price point that work for them? How fast their products move? What are some key pointers to help them sell faster? Is it cheaper? Is it better customer service? Is it a faster shipping? And there are so many elements, right? Play around and figure out what would be a sweet spot for you. Julian made a very good point about not overstocking, especially when it's new to you. You don't want to be stocking like 1,000 units of the same item and then realize that it doesn't sell. So find a sweet spot of the minimum amount that you can send over while you still hit the economy of scale, and try out if that works. Send another batch, right? As long as you time your logistic timing to how fast it sells, it will not affect your sales. So you don't need like 1,000 items in the warehouse. It's the cost will boil down and instead of helping you sell more, right? So you can spend on online marketing resources to help expedite the shipping. Expedite the conversion. Yeah, it's what I have in mind. So yeah.
Cool, that's really great. Now, speaking of the research, right, just also want to share, we do have the tool that we call the Product Opportunity Explorer tool in Seller Central. So you can use that to, do the research as well initially. I'm assuming, if you start to send in already, you would have done your research. But if not, there's something to bear in mind, like what Vicky mentioned, what sells here may not sell in the other country. So you can use that tool to look at the trends, how much of the search volume and sales for the product category, etc., that you want to sell in. And you can also look at the reviews from those product as well. So do your research is very critical before starting to sell. Then you might have lesser, inventory headache to handle down the road. All right, the last one is actually a $1 million question: how to select the right product to sell. Well, all I can say is there are tools available, like what I mentioned earlier on, Product Opportunity Explorer, and then depending on your definition of the right product, I believe is product that can bring in sales, profit, revenue, right? So that is something you need to do a lot of research, either or even based on your, your understanding, or if you know there's a certain pain point of a certain product that you think you can solve by customizing, that is something you can do. Assuming you are somebody who wants to do private labeling and not reselling, so that may help you select the right product. If I get your question right, the right product to sell, not to resell, right? Anything that Vicky would like to add on to this?
Yeah, I think this question has been asked like a million times. Unfortunately, there's no like, oh, by the way, this is my list of the right product to sell. We don't have that. So, I think a general rule of thumb is think about what are some competitive edge that you have. Your connection, within your connection, if you have access to, let's say, a cheaper alternative to a certain product, and you believe that at while cheaper, the quality is the same, and you can provide that value to people, that would be a good product. But if it also the like, but pricing is just one. There's always a room to introduce better quality product at without sacrificing cost, right? And then I think at the end of the day, no matter what we sell, what industry we're in, we're just looking to find a solution to people's problem. So if you can find the next problem that people are looking to solve, and your product can solve their problem, I think that's how Return Helper came about. We thought about problems that people need help solving, and it would eventually be the right product to sell. Yeah.
Perfect. All right, that's all we have for this question, but we're going to move on to the existing live question that we get. All right, before that, just to share, our January schedule is out, and then you can sign up on the same live webinar page that you see. All right, so let me look at the question, right? The first one I get from the live audience now is from Tay. How to deal with fraud return then? So I think it's referring to the something that Vicky earlier on shared regarding fraud return. I'm not sure whether we managed to address it earlier on, or so how can seller deal with this type of fraud return?
Mm. Right. So let's say a buyer want to return an item to you, and what we can do is after receiving the item, we'll take photo, like the photo you saw of, I think, the shoes that I showed, right? You take a photo of the parcel before it's open, and what we receive inside within 24 hours of receiving the item. So with that photo, you can make a decision. So let's say the buyer return a rock back to you instead of a phone, right? It happens, unfortunately, right? So painful. So what you can do is, okay, next step is, depending on how you want to dispute it, you can contact the buyer and tell them that, hey, this is what I received from you. It doesn't seem to be the same of what I've sent you, right? And see what the buyer would do. And then there are times where it could be a genuine mistake. It can be resolved. There are times where it has to be escalated to the marketplace. So then in this case, Amazon will have to step in to decide who they trust, right? They might evaluate the seller's performance and tenure on Amazon to see if there has been repeated such incident, or they believe that, oh, the seller is trustworthy. It must have been the buyer. Maybe the buyer has a repeated incident of returning a rock. Then they will decide what would be the most suitable outcome. So this is how some ways of how you manage disputes. for products that are of very high value. I've heard of customers who take the proof that we have and file a police report as well to see what happens after. So this would be some ways to manage fraud. While we aren't able to prevent it from happening, we can take steps, active steps to minimize losses that we get from fraudulent activities.
Wow, thanks for sharing on that. So yeah, do remember, there are ways that you can deal with the fraud return, and you can get return helpers help to do that. All right, so I have one last question I see here from Kek Xiang. So the question is, for cross-border shipping, are we able to sync trades from marketplace such as Amazon, eBay, etc., to your platform automatically and generate shipping labels? So I believe it's for returns helper platform. Are you able to do that? Yeah.
Yeah, the short answer is yes. We have
Mhm.
API integration with different marketplaces, so it will all be automated for you to run your operations. Yeah.
All right, this is a very good short answer. Yeah, so the answer is yes. All right, so if you have more questions, we're gonna still be around here for a minute. We have some more time. All right. So before that, just to let you know, the QR code is already still on the screen. So do scan it if you have any questions that may be too private to share in the live Q&A. You can reach out to our return helper for help. All right, back to the Q&A. Let me see if there's more questions. If you are typing a very long question, you might want to press enter now so that we know that you are going to type something. Let me just double check. Okay, a follow-up question. Thank you from the same attendees. Let me read it out for those who won't be able to see. Let me type it here as well. Okay, the question is, to add on my last question of cross-border shipping, I am referring fulfillment by merchant. So I think it's so the question is, for if seller are doing FBM, right, would they be able to do that kind of syncing to generate shipping label? I think that's the follow-up question. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for asking and clarifying. We have API integration for both returns management and also forward fulfillment. So yes, rest be assured, as long as the marketplaces that you have offers API token, we can pull in orders to process from there.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I hope if you have more follow-up question, let us know now before we end. Right now, so before we formally close the session, right, would like to ask Vicky if you have any last word or suggestion or advice for our attendees today before we end.
Yeah, so thank you very much, everybody, for spending the hour with us and listening to how to manage your inventory. We know that in this e-commerce business, it's not all sunshine and rainbow, but for any solutions about logistics that you might need help with, you can reach out to us, even if it's just like a business consultation about how to expand your business from the logistics perspective or from returns perspective. Just reach out to us, and we might explore something new together. So yeah, thank you, Junlang, and a happy new year to everybody.
All right, thank you, Vicky. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you for spending time with us and the attendees. And also, I don't see any more questions already. I hope we have answered all your questions. So, yep, thank you so much, Vicky, and thank you so much, everyone. Happy New Year. See you all in 2024 for the January webinar. Remember to sign up, and remember to scan the QR code if you have more questions to get help from Return Helper. All right. Thank you. Have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.